You're very welcome to the Off the Ball League of Ireland podcast with Jamie Moore. Very happy to welcome Finn Harps defender Dan O'Reilly to the studio. And for the second week in a row, we have a man who's actually in the studio for the second time after Neil Ferrugia last week. So Dan, you should be very honoured, or should we be honoured to have you again?
I'm blessed to be in your presence, Jamie.
Oh, yes. Great. Thank you very much. Dan, of course, just signed for Finn Harps in the off-season, having been with Longford for the previous 3 years?
Yeah, 3 years.
And Bray before that?
Bray before that, yeah.
And Fulham before that?
Yeah, a couple of stints at lower league clubs, but yeah.
And in the First Division Team of the Year 2 years in a row?
Yeah.
Nice, okay. So tell us about your time at Finn Harps so far and why you decided to leave Longford and join Harps.
Well, the main attraction was Premier Division football, obviously. Like, the option was to stay with Longford, but I just thought, while I'm young, 23, that I wouldn't get much of a chance to travel like something like Finn Harps, you know, whereas my work allows me to do that, and playing in the Premier Division was something that I wanted to do, whether that was with Longford through the playoffs last year or whether this year with Finn Harps, obviously. So that was my main reasoning, and I met Ollie in the off-season. I liked what he had to say, and he's a very passionate man, and I thought it would be very good to work under someone like him. Yeah,
talk to me about Ollie Horgan, the manager, because like outwardly he's, you know, quite loud on the sideline and is sent off quite a bit and banned quite a bit and whatever, but like I've spoken to him on the podcast like numerous times, and like he's such a nice man, and I understand that he's so good in the dressing room with the tactics board and with, you know, information on the other teams, but what's he actually like to play for?
Well, firstly, he's a gentleman. Like, he comes across completely different. Like, as an opposition player, when you see Ollie, you think, oh, he's mad as a brush, but when you're actually working under him, he's very understanding whether you have a problem off the pitch or whether you want to talk about something on the pitch. Like, he's a gentleman. And then obviously when it comes to games, obviously your emotions can carry you through, and he might let them get the better of him, but he's just very passionate, and he obviously wants to win. Same with Paul Hegarty on the sideline, so two of them can be a bit mad, but they're great fellas, like, and I'm really enjoying working under them.
What did Ollie say to you to make you want to join, apart from the obvious, which is the opportunity to play in the Premier?
Well, at the start, when I met him first, I was quite sceptical about going up, obviously the travel and stuff like that, but just like the way he talked, he was very positive, and he wanted to go about his business quietly. He had done a lot of homework on me and other players we spoke about when I met him, and I liked that, because from previous times, like, managers might just hear about you or whatever, but he knows a lot, going back to even schoolboy days, so that was very positive for me, like, and then it was a lot for me to think about, and that obviously lured me towards Finn Harps in the end.
So 9 league games played, just 2 points, draws against Dundalk and Pats, but Dan wasn't playing on Monday in the League Cup, and Harps win their first game of the season, beating Sligo 2-1 after extra time, so you may not be needed.
I'm a bad luck curse by the sounds of it, yes. No, but we've actually played well in a lot of games, but just a bit of luck hasn't gone our way, sorry. We've scored 3 against Cork at home, and we're unlucky against Rovers a couple of weeks ago, so hopefully that's a sign of things to come. The lads winning on Monday, and we can push on, please God.
Is it possible for us to see that photo again for a second, please? Dan, there you go, look to your left there. Why do people close their eyes when they head the ball? It's something that I've always been interested in, because it's subconscious, it's not something you do on purpose, but you're clearly winning that header, but the eyes are firmly closed there in Tala, I think that is.
Yeah, it's in Tala. Yeah, I don't know really, like, it's probably last minute that the eyes close, but obviously you're focusing the ball right till the end, but when the cameramen or women catch it, and obviously it's not great luck, is it?
Yeah, for those who are listening to the podcast, it's Dan in the luminous yellow Harps kit winning a header for Harps against Rovers a few weeks ago in Tala. So it's been a tough start to the league. Those 2 draws against 2 good teams. How would you kind of reflect on the start? And I suppose you're not far away from UCD, just above you, and even Sligo a little bit ahead, but it's not been a great start.
No, well, we were very disappointed with the 2 games against Sligo and UCD. They're probably our poorest performances, and like, they're obviously the 2 teams ahead of us, and we would have went into them games with high hopes, especially at home to Sligo and even away to UCD, and we were very disappointed because we thought we could have got a win against Sligo at home and maybe a win or a draw against UCD, but overall, like, there's certain games like away to Rovers and stuff like that, you're going in with kind of a free shot, like, but we've played well obviously against Pats and Dundalk. We got the draws, and we were quite happy with that after 3 games, having lost to Bows in the first day. But yeah, we're hoping we can just push on now, especially after winning the Cup on Monday, and it's the last game of the first round of fixtures on Friday, so hopefully we can get a result against Derry.
Yeah, this question over two parts. One, being in the Premier Division against teams that are of a better standard to the First Division, and two, being in a team that struggles. What sort of challenges has that presented you as a defender? And I'm sure some of that are the reasons why you've decided to give this a go.
Personally,
Yeah.
Well, as a defender, you're obviously always going to be busy when you're against better players, and when you're kind of the underdog, I suppose, as we are, Finn Harps, going into most of the games. But it's a good opportunity to show if you are a good defender and obviously stand out. Even if you're losing games, or you just have to focus on yourself and try to get a good performance. But if the other players are playing well around you, then obviously you're going to get results, Then playing against better players, obviously the Premier Division is higher than the First Division, so that was what really I wanted to test myself against. Having played in the First Division the last 2 years, I really wanted to see where I was at as a player, because obviously I've done quite well the last 2 years, so I wanted to see where I was personally and against better players, better strikers, wingers now. So I'm really enjoying it so far. So.
Yeah, you said strikers and wingers now because you played a little bit at left back, and I'll drop my pen. Sometimes three at the back. Have you played three at the back yet?
Yeah, we've played. Ollie's quite fond of the tree.
Yeah.
I've played left of the tree, and I've also played left wing back as well, which is something new to me, but I've actually enjoyed it, to be honest. I was quite sceptical at the start, but I'm enjoying it out there. So it's a lot of freedom, and obviously you're going to be against good wingers and stuff, so defensively and attacking I'm learning a lot and constantly learning all the time.
You're also doing lots of travel all the time, Dan. How have you found basically living in Dublin and having to be in Donegal 3 or 4 times a week?
Well, it's actually only really twice a week. Depends on if we have a game on a Monday, then I'll have to go up on a Sunday, but it's normally on a Monday and Thursday, so it's not too bad. And then home games, I'd stay up on a Thursday night, so I look forward to that sleep on a Thursday.
I'm sure you do. So how does your week work? Because Ollie has been quite understanding that he doesn't want you up there all the time. He knows you'll do your own recovery and at times maybe go for a run or hit the gym, that you're not needed for all the sessions, which would be probably very difficult for you to do from a logistical point of view. Yeah,
well, the lads, the week is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday game, Friday, and then the option of recovery on a Saturday. So on a Tuesday, I wouldn't go up. The 2 main sessions would be a Monday and a Thursday. So obviously the pre-match session is important for shape and looking at the other team from that aspect. And then Monday you get a good blowout. So Ollie's quite understanding with that. And then my work has obviously worked around it as well. So I just said this year was the only really year that I could do something like that. And I really wanted to play in the Premier Division. So it's kind of worked out well for me in that sense.
So how long is the drive, and what do you do? Are you a podcast listener, or do you make phone calls? Do you go up with someone else? How do you pass the time? Because doing that twice a week, up and back, I'm sure it can be a bit tedious at times.
Yeah, well, if you're on your own, especially, to be honest, I don't mind being on my own, have my own independence and just putting on a podcast or an audiobook or whatever.
This podcast, obviously?
Yeah, this podcast, yeah, and others. No, but most of the time I go up with one of the coaches, Willie O'Connor, and then Sean Boyd, who's on loan from Shamrock Rovers, will come up as well. So we kind of chop and change the drive, so sometimes it's nice to kick back and relax, and then obviously other times you're driving. So it's actually not too bad. On paper it's quite daunting, but after you've done it a few times, it's not too bad at all.
How long is it each way?
From my house, probably about 3 hours 15 minutes, pedal to the metal.
Right, God. It's like the trip home after the Monday session or the Thursday session. If you're playing in Dublin, you're able to meet at the ground or at the hotel at 6 o'clock or 4 o'clock, whatever, on the Friday, so you don't have to go back up. But having trained, it's trained at 6, 7...
7 o'clock, yeah, Monday and Thursday, yeah.
So you're probably back in the car just after 9:15 maybe, by the time you've...
9, yeah, quick shower and out we go, yeah.
Is that how I just in my own head thinking you've trained, you've done the drive up, you've trained, you've eaten whatever, and you're back down the road and it's pitch dark and it's God, I've got 3 hours to go here. You've just basically done it, just get on with it.
Yeah, at the start it was kind of something I was a bit anxious about, but after a while I'd nearly always be home before 12 in bed. So it just depends on obviously my next day's schedule, and obviously recovery is even more of an emphasis this year compared to last year with sleep and rest and like changing how I'm training and stuff, like just to adapt to just the travelling, never mind the training and the actual playing games. It's more so the travelling and like my joints and muscles. It's different than what I've been used to before, but I'm actually adapting quite well and I'm enjoying this kind of change in career, I suppose.
And on a Thursday, if it's a home game, you're staying the Jackson's Hotel, is it in
Ballybuffet, yeah.
So you've got just sleep, and on the Friday just have a coffee, relax and prepare, which I'm sure is a good plus. You don't have to go back down the road and then back up again on the Friday.
Yeah, it's nice because you go up on a Thursday and then you come back on a Friday, so it doesn't really feel like you're up and back. And my dad would go up to a lot of the home games, so I'd normally get a lift on a Thursday and then come back with him on the Friday, so I'd get an earful then on the way home whether I've done well or not. So it's grand, it's fine. I like I said to you before, I look forward to the sleep and I can relax and get some food into me and just chill out, like.
And that's something that footballers face all the time, is the parents or the girlfriends or whatever it might be giving them their opinion on the game. So you've played for Finn Harps, you've won the game 6-0, it's great. You've lost the game, you've conceded an own goal, you've given away a penalty. What does your dad say to you when you get into the car? Do you just say, "Dad, I'm not talking about it, shut up"?
Well, I'm all ears, to be honest. Like last week we lost to Waterford 4-0, like, and got in the car, whatever, had a chat, and he was just telling me what I did wrong and what I did well, really, and I'd never really argue. I'm always open to criticism. Obviously some of it is, in certain times, it's hard to hear, but most of the time it's just to improve you as a player, like, you know, so it's part and parcel of the game, like, you know.
Yeah, and one of your mates, Sam Verdon, did pre-season, played the first game against Bows and then left and has joined Longford, and I know he decided, to travel, and it was quite difficult for him with work and his personal life too. So it doesn't work for everybody, but for you so far it has, and for Sam he's made the decision. I saw him play for Longford the other night, he was really good. He had to decide that he couldn't do it.
Yeah, me and Sam aren't mates anymore. No, obviously Sam has his own reasons, and I get on really well with Sam, so it was more so personal choice for Sam, but I've adapted quite well so far, but obviously it's only quarter of the way through really games wise, but I'm enjoying it, yeah.
And tell us about your life away from the football, because you're in college, you're working as a personal trainer and you're playing the football, so you're quite busy, and there is a balance to be struck. Spoke there to James Finnerty about he's not working at the moment, he's just playing football for Bows, and he can eat and he can sleep and he can go to the gym, whereas for you I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that has to be put in place from a plan point of view for sleep, hydration, food, work, to be able to perform in all of those areas. Yeah, well,
there's more detail in planning, especially this year with everything, whether it's going to the gym, college work, and then obviously my own work in the gym as well, like, so I kind of sit down on a Sunday and plan out my week. Obviously it doesn't always go to plan, there's interruptions and things come up, like, so I try always plan it at the weekend for the coming week, and then that way I know, right, I'm going to get this done this week, or I have this person in the gym, or I always try stay on top of things as much as I can.
Now, I spoke to someone recently who says there will definitely be 2 red cards or more in Finn Harps against Derry on Friday, because if it's a local derby and the crowds and so on and so forth. What do you expect? Is this your first kind of derby apart from Longford against Athlone, or Bray against were Cabinteely around when you played for Bray?
No.
So this is like big crowd, the Donegal Derry derby, like, should be a cracker up there in Finn Park on Friday.
Yeah, I'm looking for. I don't know what to expect really. Like, I've heard obviously different things, and then obviously when we go up to Brandywell, like, it'll be different use wise and stuff. But I'm expecting a good crowd and a bit of tenacity and tackles and stuff. So I'd say you'll get into the game quite quickly. Like,
yeah, from speaking to James, I asked him. He's only into senior football like 7 games and getting used to playing in front of crowds. You're obviously a little bit further along that way. In those type of games, like, say in Finn Park on Friday, like, it'll be a mad red hot atmosphere. Derry will probably have a few hundred fans there. Is that something you listen to hear? Does it affect you in any way? If you're, if there's a 50-50 about the drop, balls about to drop, and you hear the crowd roaring, will that influence you making that tackle or playing that pass or clearing that ball, or is it totally just background noise?
Most of the time it's background noise. It's only really when the play stops for a minute or whatever, if the ball's going to play or you're picking the ball up for throw-in, that's when you can kind of hear the crowd. So it's up to each individual what they choose to hear or what way they take it. But during the game, it's just like, just focus, like, you're just eyes on the ball and whatever, marking your man, and so it doesn't really interfere with me personally. But obviously different games, I don't know what's going to happen on Friday, but it'll be interesting anyway.
Lastly, Dan, how long are you back from England now full time?
think 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, it's a long time to be back and you're now fully immersed in life as a League of Ireland footballer and working and stuff. Like, looking back on the period of how long it took you to get used to not being in football in England to now being here, like, how would you look back on that time now, 5 years on, and like really settled into being a Dubliner, living in Dublin, playing football and working, like?
At the start, it's obviously hard to adapt, but it's something that you have to adapt to quite quickly, because otherwise you're just going to get stuck in a rut. Whether that's with your football, it won't progress, or whether it's with work, you'll just work in a job that you don't enjoy. So you just have to get yourself out of the hole and, I suppose, move on from the past and get on with your football, stay focused, and then drive towards something outside of football that you want to do, whether it's in college or whether it's working with your dad or anyone like that. You just have to have a plan in place and stick to it, really.
Yeah, because again, from speaking to James, I asked him the same question, and he's only like 4 months into being home, and he tried a job, it didn't really work out, and he's thinking of going to FOS or maybe going to college and checking out the education routes because he hasn't got his leaving cert and that. Like, when you came home, how early or late did like that drop in your head that I have to actually do something else here, and how did you go about doing it, because you didn't have a leaving cert either?
I actually did my leaving cert,
okay.
yeah.
In England, or did you come back? How did that work?
I studied on my own in England, then when the summer break came around, I did it at home then, yeah. So
I have to sack my researcher, and that's actually me.
Yes, you do.
Okay, well, I'll ask you that question. So how did you do, because I know, who was it at Blackburn? Irish International.
Darrell
Lennon did the same thing. As part of his contract, he had a tutor and came home through his leaving, and now he has, an opportunity when he does retire to do something, and you did something similar.
Yeah, well, mine would have been off my own back mostly, because I just go home to my digs and then just do my bit of study when I felt like it, and then I get a few notes and by email and stuff, and I try my best to do whatever 7-8 hours a week while they're all in school, and then when I came home for the summer I had a couple of weeks to put the head down and study, and then sat the exams. Obviously I had to make changes to whatever honours and pass in a couple of subjects, but not much really, but I was quite happy with getting it done and just having it there. Like, I wasn't really thinking about it at the time. I didn't think, I'll definitely need this in the future, but I just thought it's definitely great to say to people, I've done my leaving cert, and they'd be like, how did you do it and stuff, and it's just, at the time it's not much you think about it, you just do it, like, so you're only young, 17, I was 17 when I did mine, so it's like driving, the earlier you do it the better it is, like.
That's really interesting and something that I didn't know, and like, so that probably made the process of trying to figure out what you wanted to do easier, because you knew that you could go to college if you wanted because you had the leaving cert. Yeah,
well, it's just kind of background, like, background for when I came home, or if I came home at the time. I obviously didn't think I was going to come home, but it just gave me more avenues to look to for what I wanted to do, and gave me more opportunities for when I did come home, and I could look into more stuff, and obviously my brain was still functioning in a different way than just football. It took my mind off the football, and it was great. I really enjoyed it, like, the year.
Back up, not background, back up to being a footballer.
Yes.
So lastly, if young footballers are listening who are either away and not, I know the education in England isn't really worth anything in comparison to a leaving cert, or a player who's just come back who is wondering, like James, and there's so many more, even in that Bows team and all the teams who've come back. Like, what would you say to them about not putting all of the eggs or the balls in the basket of football?
I think it's more important than you think at that age. You just think football. I want to be a footballer, everything's football, but there's more important things in life for the future, for your own career, and obviously for income when you're done football. Obviously, if you're successful in football, then it's not something you need to worry about, but for the majority of us, we have to have another option when we finish football. So it's definitely something, even if it's not the leaving cert, just whether it's something when you're 18, 19, a part-time college course or anything, just for your brain, and obviously to say, right, I have this degree, for when I finish football it's something I can further, because it's obviously become a massive thing, even with elite professional footballers, like Chiellini has done different business degrees and stuff, so it's just shown that it is really important for when you finish. And it's also really good for your headspace as well, that you're not just focused on football all the time. Dan O'Reilly, thanks a million for coming in. Good luck on Friday. We'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much, Jamie. Thanks for having me.